Hi there, the name's Nico, and before I go over the patch notes for today, I actually wanted to point out to you guys that my emote, which you can see right here, and I will hopefully enhance it for you guys, will be available for you guys to get after maintenance by watching my Twitch stream, The Name's Nico, with an L instead of an I. So hopefully you guys will join the stream and come and get your free emote. You just have to watch for an hour, and yeah. I just wanted to point out this emote was available because we won, or my team won the ER Partner Squad Showdown. It was the first one they've ever done, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll link the video that I did based off the Partner Squad Showdown at the top right corner that you guys can go check out. And now that that's out of the way, let's get into the patch notes. Okay, so here are the patch notes 0.63. This is with Estelle coming out. She's the newest character added, the Fearless Firefighter. And you can see her base stats here. They don't look too bad. But the main thing about her is that she is mainly going to be a squad's character, in my opinion, more so than a solo's character. I'll cover her kit more through, but just based on how her kit is, I don't really see her having much solos play. But yeah, now that let's just go over her kit now. The Duty Calls is our passive for Fire Axe. Estelle's Fire Axe deals 20% reduced damage for basic attacks, but is much swifter than others. So her increased basic attack speed is 30%. So she does 80% damage, like based off her auto attacks, but does or has 130% attack speed. Resurrection, healing for Estelle and her allies in an 8-meter radius is increased by 40 to 80%. And Estelle is immune to crowd control while she raises her downed allies. Allies are also additionally healed for 5 to 15%, plus a 0.1% skill amp when recovered from being down. So immune to crowd control during resurrection. Estelle and her allies, the cooldown is 140 to 120, so it's not like you can do this multiple times in a battle. There's only once. You can see there's like a ring around her where they get increased healing. I think this just means increased like HP regen, so I don't think this part is as significant as it sounds. Suppression, her Q. Suppression 1, Estelle empowers her Fire Axe, increasing the attack range of her next basic attack and deals 20 to 60 plus 25% attack power extra skill damage on hit. I thought they were getting rid of extra skill damage, so I'm a little confused that this is considered as extra skill damage. Maybe it's worded badly and it's meant to be like a skill amp, but okay, sure. Increased basic attack range is 0.8 meters. SP cost is 20 to 40. The cooldown is 8 to 6. Suppression 2. If Estelle lands Suppression 1, which I don't know how she is not going to land Suppression 1, considering it's a basic attack, she empowers her shield, increasing the attack range of her next basic attack and deals 5 to 45 plus 15% extra skill damage on hit. If Suppression 2 was landed 2 seconds after Suppression 1, the target is stunned at 0.5 seconds. So they're basically wanting you to hold on to your auto for 2 seconds at a minimum before attacking again, so you get the stun. So again, this would be better in team modes where you're chasing someone and you don't want to hit them immediately for that stun, so that your team can do a combo on that one person who is stunned. But the increased basic attack range is 0.5 meters. SP costs 20 to 40, and the cooldown is 8 to 6 seconds. I guess I didn't translate that character from Korean, but yeah. I think her key is just going to be leveled up first. It just seems like the most obvious choice here because it's this ability you're probably going to spam a bunch. It is in team modes, you probably will level up your passive first or maybe second, but in solos you're not going to put a point into it at all because there's no healing for allies in solos. First response, or W/emergency extinguish, which is her EW. First response, Estelle slams the ground with her shield, dealing 20 to 100 plus 30% attack power, skill damage to enemies in range, slowing them by 20 to 40%, decaying for 1.5 seconds. So because it's a decaying slow, it's gonna not be that great, to be honest. Movement range is 2.3 meters, attack range is 3 meter radius, SP cost 50-70, cooldown 17 to 11, and that's just base W. You can see what it is from the GIF here. That's, I think, EW. No, this is the EW. And that's just the normal one right there, the slam of the shield. So yeah. Now, emergency extinguish. Remember, this is you use your W after you've used E. When cast during hazard shield, Estelle can move while spraying enemies in range with her extinguisher for 2 seconds, dealing a total of 136 to 360 plus 25% attack power skill damage over 8 times, and decreases their vision range by 20% plus 40% skill amp. So I guess you can increase the vision range, or how much the vision range decreases. Vision range is increasingly decreased by 3 to 4.2% each time the skill deals damage. So this can go up to 8 times, so you can actually get this up to, what is that, 4 times, well, it's 32, 16, 53, no, yeah, 53.6 because it's base 20. Can be recast to be canceled. The attack range is 4 meter radius. The central angle is 45 degrees. Okay, sure, fair enough. SP cost 70 or 50 to 70, and it's on a flat 10-second cooldown. So it's better if you use EW for like a shorter cooldown. But since it's reliant on E, you will obviously want to use the just W as well. This skill seems honestly not too bad. Hazard shield, E, or forcible entry, which is EE. So hazard shield. Estelle spreads her hazard shield for 4 seconds and can move during this duration. For 0.5 seconds after casting the skill, damage from enemies' attacks are negated, excluding some DOT effects, so damage over time effects. I'm assuming it's that stuff like Wick Buff, as an example. After 0.5 seconds, Estelle reduces damage taken by 60% instead, wearing off each time she's damaged. Allies near Estelle while her hazard shield is up also take 30% reduced damage. Casting a skill once more after charging ends her shield state. Shield effect when hit decreases by 5% down to 3%. Minimal guaranteed shield effects 30%. Ally protection is 3.5. SP cost 50 to 70. Cooldown 16 to 10. I think in team modes, actually, you'll probably level up E before Q. In solos, which again, I don't think she's going to be a solos character, you'd probably do Q first because you don't really care about that ally protection radius. But in team modes, this will, if you're going to play her as like a tank character, which is kind of what her kit is, or like more of a support, you're going to put points in your E first. Forcible entry. When cast during hazard shield, Estelle charges forward and stops on impact, dealing 20 to 100 plus 30% attack power, skill damage to the target, and pushes them away. If Estelle dashes farther than 3 meters, the target is stunned for 1.2 seconds. During the charge, Estelle is unstoppable and instantly destroys objects such as enemy surveillance cameras. Can be recast to be cancelled. So charge range is 10 meters. And SP cost is 50 to 70. Yeah, this doesn't actually look that bad as well. I know, for me, this kind of reminds me of like Snorlax and Pokemon Unite, if you ever played that. Like the shield type effect. Maybe not like the dash part, just the shield. So yeah, that's interesting to see. And now we have our ultimate. This is honestly, our ultimate's quite cool, just from someone who hasn't played any other MOBAs. But yeah, so I have cast on self. Estelle shields herself for 200 to 450 plus 100% skill amp plus 10% of targets lost HP for 5 seconds, and requests a heli tac backup. After 2 seconds, the heli tac will locate Estelle's coordinates and drop a hydro bomb on the location, dealing 50 to 200 plus 5% of Estelle's max HP and skill damage in a 5 meter radius. Slows enemies hit by 50% for 1.5 seconds. Attack range 5 meter radius. SP cost 100 to 80. Cooldown's 90 to 70. So it's honestly a little bit on the longer end as you like progress through the game, but the cooldown base is, I think, average for most of like cooldowns for ultimates at level 1. But cast on allies, Estelle shields her ally for 200 to 450 plus 100% skill amp plus 15% target loss HP for 5 seconds, and requests a heli tac backup. After 3 seconds, Estelle drops from her heli tac. What is this? I like that. Instantly teleporting to her ally, dealing 50 to 200 plus 5% of Estelle's max HP. Does skill damage in a 5-meter radius and knocks enemies airborne for 0.5 seconds. Channeling time is 1 second. Attack power is 5-meter radius. SP cost 100 to 80. And cooldown is 90 to 70. So for me, it's cool because I haven't seen like this basically global ultimate that she has access to. This seems really cool. You can teleport from like Dock all the way to Alley. Uh, that's why I like it cool. I like the animation of the helicopter they have on the ground too. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it is in team modes. I'd have to try it out there because you can't obviously do global travel with any other character in this game. Like the longest range ultimate I think right now is Rio's Spirit Arrow. Like that goes I think 80 meters, but again there is like a range. This is like based off where your ally is, so it can go very very far. And yeah, I think that's really cool. So for me, I think she's definitely more of a team's character, as I've said like multiple times. Reading her kit, you're probably gonna play her more defensively. Like even her ultimate gives her ally a shield or herself a shield, depending on who you use it on. And she has like a lot of CC in her kit from mainly slows, but she does have a stun on her Q and E. So I guess it's like stuns and slows. So she has decent CC, very like tanky with her shield, and yeah, I think she's definitely like a really good teams character. And I'm excited to see how she is in teams, but she might need a nerf because I don't think her team numbers were that bad at all. Like look, her squad's damage taken is 97%, so she is like taking reduced damage. Like she is supposed to be more like a frontline character anyway, so yeah, I don't think I'll be like mainly damage dealt that will like matter with her. Yeah, very interested to see Estelle, just not a solos character though, if you're hoping to play her in solos in my opinion. Now we're at the skins, emotes. Here's Tropical Magnus coming out, and we have Elite Executioner Rosie coming out here. The skin actually looks really cool. I don't know, it gives me a bit of like Resident Evil vibes. I don't know. Maybe that might just be a personal thing though. So we have some Chloe emotes. And I like the Chloe and Nina emotes the best. Like the one with just Chloe is like the worst one in my opinion. And then also have a bundle if you want like the Chloe skin as well. Skin release order changes. We originally planned to release a new test subject and its first skin at the same time. Checking the final quality requires more work than we expected. The first skin of a new test subject will be released within 1 to 2 months after the test subject's release. Okay. That's why Elite Executioner Rosie will be released instead of Special or Spec Ops Estelle. Different skin besides Challenger Piolo will be released next is 0.64 update. We asked for your understanding of changes in release schedule. Sorry. We asked for your understanding and changes of release schedule. Okay, sure. So I guess we're gonna get a skin that we don't know. Like people with the pack hopefully will be like fine with it. I guess I'll be fine for it because the people with the pack were promised, hey, look, well, you'll get these 2 skins, right? Well, I mean the pack of the season 6 battle bundle or whatever, where it said you're paying for 14 skins and they showed you what the skins were. So for me, I'm like fine with that because I have the bundle. But maybe other who are like, oh, I really wanted the Estelle skin and now I'm not going to be getting it with the bundle. I'll have to buy it with my other MP, and I don't care for the Rosie skin because I don't play Rosie. Just an example. So I could see like both sides for it, to be honest, but I understand that like, that they were hoping for it, but it just didn't come out as like they didn't expect the, I guess, the quality check for it. So yeah, it is what it is. System and save plan rework phase 1. We are planning to go through a large rework for the save plans tool to improve the player experience. This patch will go through the first phase of the rework, upgrading some of the UIs as well as allowing augments to be added within the save to plan system. Okay, this is honestly a great change. I am super excited for this. During the 0.65 patch, phase 2 of the rework, so not next patch, but the patch afterwards, We'll improve the save plans tool to include item transitions with rare materials, as well as details about transfer drones. This is great. Searching save plan and creating new plans. UI for loadout will be getting an overhaul and rework. Users may now include augments in their save plans. Item catalog will now allow users to sort items between 2 different modes, Lumia Island and Cobalt. This is like, this is so good. I'm so excited. I was actually working on my Elite Island guide, but I'll hold off to publish it until this comes out so I can put the augments in the plan for you guys, as well as the transitions will be added. Yeah, so I'll update it once we get the transition stuff, but I'll wait until the augments at least get added. So this is just super cool. Now, character selection screen. Characters will be able to choose the recommended augment page accordingly to the save plan. The UI between the loadouts during character select and lobby will be uniform with each other. So if you choose a plan with the augments, it'll just show the augments from that plan, which I think is great. And unlocking augments. With the upcoming changes, we'll be unlocking the level lock on augments. All augments are now available starting at level 1. This is just... People have been asking for this for so long, and I'm so glad they actually are doing it, so thank you. This is a great change for everyone, I think, because now you won't have new players being on, like, suboptimal augments when they're going against really experienced players using the best augments, so really good. Stat information update. Looks like Tia got into our user interface. Well, ha. Very funny. We are clarifying current character stats by adding more clarity to the UI. So basically, if you see here, there's like a plus damage here, and this is like the skill amp sign. So this one was actually for when EBAD was still in the game. This one was for extra skill damage. So if you had like 50 EBAD, it'd show like 50 here, and then this is your basic attack amplification. This is your skill amplification, but now those are removed. I guess somewhat. I mean, technically some characters still have it, but they're just removing it from that UI. So if you're playing Nathopon with VICG, you won't actually see your EBAD is here. And if you're playing Pedal Torrent, which still has EBAD on it, from my understanding, you also won't see that there. But yeah, they're adding some colors to make it more stand out as well, and just kind of moving some of the things around, which I think is fine. It's going to take me some time to get used to, because like I'm used to seeing the CDR stat like over here, but they're moving it to like the other side of the board. So it's going to be... It'll take some time for me to get adjusted to that, but other than that, I think it's fine. Transfer consoles, number of first aid kits per delivery is going from 1 to 2. That's because no one orders first aid kits. And I think the change is fair. To be honest, the food is really good from it. It's just if it's worth spending credits versus getting a rare resource, you know? So you probably would only do this at the end of the game. Reduction of healing from animals. All heals from Omni-Siphon, Lifesteal, Spell Vamp, and any other vampiric effects against animals are reduced by 60%. I'm a little surprised they did this like flat for all test subjects, because things like AoE moves are already cut in half when used, even if they're only used on a single target. So I find that's already like kind of interesting anyways. And yeah, like that's my understanding. I could be wrong and I misunderstood the AoE target. But yeah, so this is just 60%, because I think some subjects don't need the 60% reduction, and then others need that much. Like Jackie would like make sense. Like Jackie heals a lot because she's just mainly autoing, right? Versus, I don't know. I like to just come back to life because it's just the character I'm most familiar with, who's like pretty much all AoE spells is basically healing for 0 from animals at this point when you're already struggling against animals. Normal MMR soft reset and reworking Normal's matchmaking. Well, at first the MMR matchmaking rating reset may be hectic. We believe that issues will settle down fast. With the large sum of Normal's games per day, we will be resetting MMR as many players have built up an immense amount of MMR throughout the game's lifespan. Normal's matchmaking will also be altered range-wise. So, yeah, I think this was kind of overdue. So basically what they're trying to do is make it, like from my understanding and just what I assume anyway, it's not what I've been told or anything like that, is that A lot of new players have complained, oh, I'm new to the game and I'm going against someone who has 5,000 hours in Eternal Turn. Actually, I don't know anyone with that many hours, but just an example. Um, so they're trying to make it more fair for like new players and make it also so that the new player queue isn't like super long as it currently is right now, hopefully anyway, and just making matches a bit more balanced. So they're just gonna reset the MMR, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll be a little bit interested to see, because for me, like, I'll feel bad if I'm going against like new players for the first like day or so, and just, but you know, if it's just to get out of the normal low MMR area, then I guess it's fine. And actually, before we move on to this, I did want to point out something from the KR patch that was not mentioned in the English patch. So just give me 1 second. Okay, so here we are. This is from the KR patch. This is translated by Google Translate, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. If you know Korean, this is the Korean part. Feel free to translate it yourself or let me know the like actual translation, because I'm just using Google Translate. Yeah, this was just in the Korean version of the patch notes. I don't know why they included this or didn't include this in the North America one, because they don't balance per region. Like, what I mean by that, it's not like the balance changes for a character affect only one server. They affect all the servers. So I don't know why they would include this in the Korean version of the patch notes and not the English version of the patch notes. But regardless, let's just read this. Subject adjustments are typically based on cumulative statistics collected since the last update of approximately 10 days. The top three day stats are highly volatile and often differ from the actual cumulative stats. Okay, so for this, it's because a lot of times when people be like, oh, why isn't this character nerfed, they reference the DAC, like dak.gg stats, and the stats from there are for 3-day period, right? Those are I personally prefer DAC for stats, but I guess the devs don't like that. So they said, look, we can't look at just 3-day stats, we have to look at over a longer period of time. I don't know, this is just like, I guess, a personal preference for the devs. I can see their side of things, but I could also argue that if the 3 days of stats in like high elo show something, it's probably not gonna change, especially if it's like the meta for like the patch notes have already come out, or like the patch has been applied to the game for that time. Maybe not like immediate after like the first day or two, but if you're looking at like days 4 to 6, or even like days 5 to 8 or whatever, like that 5 to 7, the 3-day period, yeah, I'm sure you can base your stats off fine. But that's just, again, that's my opinion versus devs, so sure. In the meantime, we made a lot of adjustments to statistically strong subjects. So there aren't many subjects that fall out of the stat standards in this version. I honestly 100% disagree with this statement. There are a lot of characters. I should probably do an updated tier list video at this point. Maybe I will work on that. That have stats that are what I'd say outside of stat standards in this version, but they, I guess, justify it in ways being like, oh, they have a low pick rate. But the thing is, like, if you have over 50 test subjects in it, of course you're gonna have some characters that have a low pick rate. You're also gonna have test subjects that have like an incredibly high pick rate. But just because they have a quote-unquote low pick rate, it doesn't mean that they shouldn't be changed. You know, like, sure, maybe you'd be like, oh, the characters with a 0% pick rate may need some buffs because they're not being picked. But if someone with like a 1% pick rate will probably, those stats are probably like fine to be used based off of. Just even though they're not like the 5% pick rate, which probably means it has a 5% pick rate, it's either incredibly popular, like Yuki. Generally, Yuki's about that high, or the character's incredibly broken, like Sua, who currently has about a 5% pick rate. It might have dropped down to like 4.2% for like low 4%. It was 5% at one point. But yeah, if the characters that even have like a 1 to 2% pick rate, you still should balance them according to their stats. And I guess in their arguments, like, oh, it's such a low pick rate, we can't balance based off that. But if you have 50 plus characters and you only see 18 different test subjects, and now even in NA where you're only seeing 15 different test subjects per game, you're gonna have a lot of characters that won't have a pick rate or be seen at all. So it's very odd that they say that they've adjusted statistically strong characters and there aren't many in this version, which, yeah, I'm ranting a little bit here, but I 100% disagree with this statement. However, as many subjects with strengths in combat, avoidance, ability, and defense appeared evenly, the overall game composition was passively aimed at hyenas, and the defensive meta emerged as the mainstream. Okay, so the main... Okay, I know, so this is Google Translate, so... I don't know what the actual word for... if it's like hyenas or something else, but... my understanding for this is they're saying that there's many characters who are able to like leave fights when they want, and they're just being defensive. And the game right now is currently aimed at people who play passively, which I 100% agree with right now. The best way the game to play is to wait until late game, which is why you generally see like in high elo lobbies like 10 people plus alive when Wickline spawns. Even in like lobbies with like NA when there's only 15 players, you're still gonna see like 2/3 of the lobby around Wickline still up generally on a like this is an average. Obviously there's could be some games that are different. And the events has emerged in mainstream. There's also 2 reasons for this, I'd say. One is that there's a lot of characters who are like really squishy, and if they don't build defensively, they're just gonna get one shot by the current top tiers without building those stats. The second reason also would be is that you don't do enough damage in the early game without like those transition items or in general, so you just want to build tanky so you can survive until the late game where you can transition to damage based items. So like that's my 2 reasonings anyway for it. The variety of gameplay cycles are good, but especially when a defensive meta emerges, the strength of Battle Royale tends to dilute, and the downsides to become very large. In order to improve this problem, apart from the adjustments of the subjects that fall outside a statistical standard, the keynote adjustment is to increase the aggressive ability of the subjects with a low appearance rate and decrease the movement ability and durability of the equipment little by little. Okay, again, this is Google Translate, so I'll just kind of explain it based on my understanding of it. So what they're trying to do is increase the when people fight instead of just like running away until like the late game, and also buff characters who aren't really seen that much, which that's why they're like somewhat doing, but a lot of times the buffs are like not major impact. And they're also working on decreasing characters with like mobility and decrease defensive stats on equipment. But again, a lot of these changes are like minor and won't really impact the meta. At least this patch, like in one patch, the changes they do generally won't actually change it. There's only been like a few exceptions where that's occurred, but even characters like Sua, who has been like S tier the last like couple months, it wasn't that one buff that gave her made her into S tier. It took like 3 or 4, right? So it takes them like a few patches in order to like make something into top tier or bottom tier. Generally, there again, exceptions would be like Carla, where last patch they hit her in every area and just she's like bottom tier. So I understand, but then also then there's things like different arguments would be like the meta used to be a lot more aggressive, but they've changed the game a lot to make it less aggressive. So what I mean by they've changed the game to make it less aggressive, I mean like they had it at a point where like remember season 1 and 2, okay? You had people or characters, snowball characters, who'd fight in the early game, get a lot of kills in like night 1, and then kind of like snowball the lobby from then, right? You have like Luke, a lot of people hate Luke from that. And what they've done is they've added scaling weapons, they've added speed gates, and they've added a bunch of things to make it so that people don't fight during night 1, right? There's a lot of ways where, oh, I've got someone to like 100 HP, oh, there's a speed pad right in front of me, they get away, right? So it tends to be make it so that, oh, is it really worth me fighting someone during night one because I know they're just gonna get away? That's that's the one thing. And then scaling weapons also to the point of this like hyena rat defensive playstyles because their weapon scales, right? So you want to live as long as possible until your weapon does the most damage. There's a lot of weapons that have this. You have mirrorless, you have thunder whip, you have even Fang Mace. You have a lot of weapons that are, I think, Fang Mace, unless they've changed Fang Mace since I'm thinking of it. Those are just like a few examples anyway. But you have a bunch of weapons that are scaling, and so it's not worth fighting in the early game until your weapon scales to a point where it actually does a lot of damage, right? So if you want to increase the aggressive of that, you're gonna have to look at changing scaling weapons, possibly. Look at speed gates, and just like, I don't know, those are just like a few things to note. Decreasing mobility abilities will definitely also impact that more aggressive playstyle, because that's a problem with like the top tiers right now, is that they have these movement abilities or like mobility spells that they can just use to get out of a fight whenever they want to. Like they're like, oh, I messed up, I need to leave now, bye bye, and they'll just use their spell. Sua can just use her E, which is whatever, Don Quixote, if I remember that pronunciation, and then just use the memory of Don Quixote, right? And then you have Hedgen, who has her Charm of the Nomad, which is her E, and she can just use that to get out. Della has her Castling. You have all these characters with these very good mobility spells. Just use it to leave a fight if it's not going in their favor. And then you have characters like Nathan Pawn who don't have that ability, so if they screw up, they're just dead, right? So, and then that's why you also have those characters build more defensively, because it's like, look, I can't get out of this fight whenever I want to, so I need to make sure I'm durable enough to survive. That's also like another reason why. So you gotta look at characters kit as a whole and see they need to value mobility spells a lot higher than I think they have been, in my opinion, because it's just the mobility spells can like literally just like make or break a fight, you know? But yeah, in addition, if the meta changes are insignificant, additional adjustments will be made in the future, including lowering health regeneration. I personally have not had a problem with health regen since they did that change a while ago, from increasing or like from changing all the flat HP regen numbers to percentage base. I don't think HP regen is really the problem. I just think they've made the game to a point where the best time to fight is in the late game, where you can buy those rare resources from transfer consoles, where there's no speed gates, and you have your scaling weapons at the best they are, right? So those are just like, again, those are like the key factors of it. But yeah, I just wanted to point this out because this wasn't in in the English patch notes, and I think this is an important thing to address with all regions, not just specifically in Korean. And yeah, let me know what you guys think about their thoughts on balancing, because I highly disagree with this, honestly. Like, I really don't think the way or the reasoning behind this is the best, just personally. Yeah, just let me know anything about it in the comments. So let's get back to the balance changes in the English version of the patch. Okay, characters. So we have character price reduction. Rio, Adela, Nini, Nuki, and Hedgen are all going down in price. Next patch, we'll have Estelle, William, Bernice, and Sylvia going down in price. So now, first up, for balance, we have Nadine, making possible to fight with crossbows more efficiently. I don't know why. Per crossbow weapon mastery, armor pen's going from 1.6 to 1.9%. Look, when they increased it to 2% armor pen, the crossbow became incredibly broken. Then they nerfed it back down to 1%, and then they basically rebuffed it back up to 2%. I know they've changed for basic attack amplification as well, and I think they've changed some of the crossbows too, but they're going on a bit of a slippery slope because bow Nadine right now is incredibly good, and this is mainly because Argiotoxis is incredibly broken as a weapon. I know Shiranja is also good, but I think Argiotoxis is just completely overstated. And bone eating can farm a lot faster than cross bone eating can. So I don't, until this becomes like, I don't think they need to buff cross bone eating. I think they need to nerf bone eating, but maybe that's just a hot take. Nikki is Slugfest, so basically they're increasing how much like attack power scaling she has on Q1. That's just the charge dash he has, and then the Q2, the body blow, is gonna go down damage. It's gonna go down by 5 at max level, just for base stats, and by 15% attack power. So they want you to do more damage by actually hitting someone with the dash part, not just the second part where you can actually choose where you want to aim at afterwards. So I guess it's fair enough. Nikki's like a pretty popular character. I don't know. I think Nikki's kind of just like fine right now. I didn't think that she really needed many changes, to be honest, but I guess sure. Tia, high return for Immaculate Brushstroke, so her Q is going up in damage by 10. Tia's kind of not been doing that well, mainly because they changed her passive from true damage to skill damage, so they're giving her a little bit of a buff for that, which I guess is fine. Leon's such a slippery slope as well. Waves now deal more damage. Surfs up. Damage proportional to lost HP is going from 15 to 25 to 20 to 30%. I think this is like a fine change to do, I guess, because it's his ultimate, and Leon is not a character that really relies on his ultimate for damage that much. It's mainly for the CC. The damage is nice, obviously, but if you mainly use it for the CC, you don't think of it as an execution ultimate, even though it is. So they're giving it buffing it, but again, Leon's a slippery slope to buff because he goes in these like top tier phases to bottom tier phases, and it goes in proportion to how good Yawn is. Right now, Yawn's really good, and they've nerfed, and that's because they nerfed Leon a bunch. So when Leon's bad, Yawn's good, but then when Yawn's bad, Leon's good. That's generally how it goes for the glove characters because they play pretty similarly. Um, Ironically, it may not seem like it, but gloves, like, they build the same things. So generally, the players who play Leon, like, this is just more speculation than anything, though. At least related to like KR, not really NA, but for KR. Characters that, or the players that play Leon will switch to Yawn when Leon's bad, and when Yawn gets bad, they'll switch back to Leon. So Lead Island, Striking Tiger is going from an unstoppable one cast to immune to crowd control. I don't specifically know what type of interactions this will change. I don't think they'll change too much because currently right now what you can do is just step in front of Lead Island's ultimate if you want her to not go away from you. If you want to do that, like Unstoppable was immune to crowd control. I just don't know the difference specifically in what can actually stop her now because versus before. Rio giving a boost to Hankyu. Judo Instinct. I think Hankyu is the short bow damage. Most people play Rio and longbow right now because that's where all the damage is at. So they're increasing the Hankyu damage from 46 to 50 to 47 to 55%. So you do max Q second after your passive. So this is actually like a pretty significant damage increase. The movement speed increase going from 3 to 15 to 6 to 18, so just 3% flat across the board. I think that's just quite nice as well, but I don't think Rio is really in a state that she needed to be buffed, especially since KR has been playing her with short bow actually. Again, you generally just see her in longbow. But by watching the top Rio player in KR, he plays her in short bow, so this is, and he was already getting at like a 50% win rate with her, so this is a little bit scary. I think his win rate did drop down after the last nerf, so it'll probably just go back up again because of these buffs, not gonna lie. So putting a lid on Mai's crowd control skills have been slaying the game, especially in team modes. Strat, which is her E, the taunt duration is going from 1.55 to 1.4 seconds. They nerfed taunts a while ago. They just didn't include Mai's taunt with it for some reason, so it is getting a little bit of a shorter duration. I think that's not like the only issue of Mai. Yeah, I think Mai's kit is probably one of the most flawed kits in the game because it counters all types of characters. You have your W, which is like her shawl, that will block basic attacks. It'll make them do only 1 damage to you, and you have 2 of them. Like you have 2 charges to use it, and then you have this taunt, which basically cancels out amp characters because amp characters don't want to auto you at all. So her kit is just very versatile and basically allows you to counter all types of characters. And I don't this change will be good for sure in team modes, but I don't think it'll be enough for solos at all. Marcus is getting 5 AP added. This is because it doesn't say here, but the foreshadow later on. They're saying they're going to nerf all axes by 5 AP. This is mainly because of Axe Jackie. It will also impact Estelle as well. I just wanted to point that out. But they don't want it to impact Marcus, so they're giving him 5 more AP. Adding clarity to Violent Swing, W skill indicator, Fearless Assault, which is a basic attacks going from 30 to 90 to 40 to 120, and his AP scaling is going up by 20% as well. Marcus is okay. Let me just before I talk about Marcus, let's finish this. Enhanced damage going from 40 to 200 to 70 to 210, and the AP scaling is the exact same. So the main problem with buffing Marcus is a character that stat checks you. Like there's like some ways to outplay him is like by dodging his E, or can't really dodge his W. I guess you somewhat can. More so his E than his W though, from getting hit into a wall. Because if you get hit in the wall, it allows him to rattle you, and then that will cause like severe consequences to them. But Marcus overall is more of a stat check character because he's mainly just auto attacks like for his damage. And the more they buff him, the more he's just gonna get into stat checky without fixing the fundamental flaws of Marcus, which is that his skills have like a pretty long wind up time. That's the main thing. His W and his E. More so his W than his E. So I understand why they're buffing Marcus, because Marcus stats aren't good, but they're not fixing the actual issues with Marcus by just buffing his numbers. Bianca decided to drink blood in a different way, so Random Vampire Queen, instead of being Skillet Vamp, it'll be Omni Siphon. So I don't know the exact difference this makes. Your ultimate is just skill damage. I don't think there is any like basic attack damage related to her ult, so but that's fair enough, I guess. Shukai per damage or per dagger weapon mastery is going from 1.6 to 1.8. And buffing dagger Shukai is also a slippery slope. They nerfed him a whole bunch after season 1 because he was like dominant. Then because again, as I mentioned earlier, with characters that have mobility options are very strong. So they nerfed dagger skill because it was a very good mobility tool, and they nerfed Shukai's or dagger Shukai's damage in the process because Shukai back then was like extremely broken. He didn't have a cap limit. He could get as many stacks as he wanted, so you can get people with close to 300 stacks on Shukai, which is, I mean, that's extremely rare. You wouldn't probably get that high stacks, probably closer to 250 than that 300. But buffing dagger Shukai is a slippery slope again, just because of how dagger skill is. They nerfed dagger skill a whole bunch as well, but I just wanted to point that out. Sylvia now revives for 50% of the fuel Sylvia owned right before dying. This is mainly for Cobalt Protocol and team modes, but that would be my understanding. So I guess sure, she's not good in team modes really. Like she's okay. I think would be better in duos than squads, just personally. But sure, I think this is people have been acting this mainly for Cobalt Protocol, and that's fair enough. Adriana, Maniac Adriana is now ready to burn up her enemies. So that's her passive. Pyromaniac is increased damage per stacks going from 20% to 25%. Adriana is actually like not doing that bad. I mentioned it in my last tier list video is like Adriana is more of a kills character than like a character that wins generally. What I mean by that is like if you look at the win rate compared to her kill rate's generally in top 5, maybe top 10 if it's a bit on the lower side. Her win rate is generally like average, maybe even below average. So she just generally can't finish off a game uh, compared to a lot of like the top tiers or characters who have like really good late game scaling. So I don't think she really needed a buff to her damage. If you want to make her, I think, better in the late game, you do have to increase her scaling or increase her durability. But I don't think people want to feel S tier Adriana again, even though Adriana is a hard character to play. But I don't think this change was really needed personally. Again, and she's on. It's just, again, this is how I explain it. She's just a kills character, so buffing her damage when she's already like doing pretty well in the kills department is not really what she needed. Alex, letting Alex choose his weapons more freely. The 2-second unique passive cooldown doesn't apply to Alex when he switches weapons. People have been asking for this change for a while. This is one of the problems when like Smolder, specifically like Lava Team, was in the game, was because there is a 2-second cooldown when you switch to that, and Alex, because he like switches weapons, didn't really abuse that fact because of this cooldown. But now they're removing it, which, I mean, Smolder's gone from the main mode. It will be impactful in Cobalt Protocol. This is also one of the reasons why you see Alex hold on to Dane's sleeve and not switch off of it, is because they don't want to deal with the 2-second unique passive cooldown that was on it. But now that won't be an issue, so if they just want to not stay on Dane's sleeve and switch to a pistol or a shuriken or whatever Tofa, then you can do so, not worry about not activating this cooldown quick enough. Yawn, Pro of Mastery, basic attack amp going from 2.9 and 2.6%. Again, I said Yawn is like doing pretty well right now, so they're gonna nerf Yawn. Again, it's the glove characters. If you know the meta, you just know that the glove characters are pretty much all played the same, and so they all go up and down depending on which character is the stronger version. Right now, that's Yawn, so Yawn's gonna get hit with some nerfs. Echion, Crescent Viper, the first hit is going from 20 to 80. Still 2080, but he's going up by 10% AP. The same with his second hit, is just 10% AP. Echion definitely doesn't need a buff at all. I think Echion's like S tier right now. Even you can argue he's like triple S tier. If he's able to get even like 1 or 2 golds online, he can just snowball a lobby at that point. And the thing is, he builds tank too, so what he just does is he'll tank first tree. You'll just like you'll go to the tree immediately and grab it, and as you try to damage him off the tree, unless you have enough CC, yeah, as long as you have enough CC to pull him off the tree, because it takes like 8 seconds to grab the tree, then you can stop him if you have enough CC, but if you don't, he'll just take it for free, because you won't be able to do enough damage to actually kill him on the tree. That's generally how it works. Even though he can't actually kill you, you can't kill him. But he'll get the tree for free and then use that to snowball the lobby. So 5% disagree with this change. I don't know why they did this at all. Emma, time for Emma to show off how she's been training her doves. Dove dealers cooldown reduction when hit, going from 1 second to 0.75 seconds, and the base cooldown is going down by 1 second from 6 to 5. Emma's the opposite of Adriana, in which she doesn't actually really kill characters, she just wins. Like, it'll be like random. You'll randomly not see Emma the whole game, and then you'll see her in the final circle, and she'll just kill you. Because no one wants to deal with Emma's antics, but once you're in the final circle, you actually have to deal with Emma. So, and at that point, she can actually manage to just kill you. So yeah. And then again, Emma's also a hard character to play, and is really only played by a few people. But she is on like the weaker end right now, just because of how shurikens are at the moment. Other than Pedal Torrent, ignoring Pedal Torrent, like shuriken characters, other than Pedal Torrent, other than William, Chloe's thinks is not a typical shuriken character, so we'll also just ignore her too. Just like the skill amp, the shuriken characters overall aren't the strongest. Or like have been on the weaker end for a while, so this is a fair change for me at all. William, fastball attack speed increase 5 to 25% to 15 to 35%. William's a kills character too. He does have some issues finishing off people, unlike with Adriana, because William doesn't have that mobility option. So But yeah, if William gets fed, he hurts. So this will just make him hurt even more and give him a little bit more kill pressure than he currently has. Even though I think his kill pressure is probably average. His main thing again is just he doesn't have mobility options. That's all. He'd be a lot better if he did though. Ava, Phase Vortex, her W cooldown is going from 11 fixed to 11 to 9 seconds. This is a buff. And Ava is not a popular character at all, so this is... they're trying to buff characters that aren't super popular in this patch. So yeah, that's why you'll see some of these characters be like, oh, I haven't faced them in a while, and get some changes, yeah. 11 on air, cooldown's going from 22 to 14 to 20 to 14. Again, I don't know why 11's getting a buff. I think 11's completely fine as is, even on like the stronger end. So it's very odd for her to get a buff, in my opinion. Sahir, shedding some light on Sahir shurikens per shuriken mastery levels going from 2 to 2.2%. I don't know really why they buffed shuriken Sahir. I thought shuriken Sahir was fine as is, but sure, I guess so. Jackie per dual swords weapon mastery, going the basic attack amp is going from 3.1% to 3.3%. Again, instead of buffing the weaker versions of weapons, they should just kind of nerf the stronger versions of it. I think the axe is overshadowing all the other weapons for Jackie right now. Once they actually hit axe with a meaningful nerf, like they keep nerfing axe AP by 5 to just try to hurt axe Jackie, and then buffing like Marcus's AP by the amount they nerf the AP of the axes. But once they nerf axe Jackie in a reasonable way, I think Dagger's going to be second best, or will become the best. Dual Swords got hurt a lot after EBAD removal and haven't really recovered from then. So, I mean, it's fair. I guess I understand why they're doing it, but I think they're doing the wrong approach. I don't think it's that Dual Swords Jackie needs a buff. I think the other weapon types need a nerf, because I think people are underestimating how strong the other weapon types of Jackie are just because of how strong Axe is. Again, I think Dagger is actually fine, even probably above average, but Axe is just overshadowing it, so it's hard for me to exactly know how good Dagger Jackie is. Jenny, less spotlight for Jenny as she's been showing strong she's been showing strong in fights with androids in the early game. It's not just alpha, it's just in general. Spotlight is going from 8 to 5 seconds to 8 to 6 seconds. This won't change anything about Jenny at all. I will still probably die in 5 to 6 hits from Jenny anyway, so... And just autos, by the way. She doesn't really use her Q for damage. It's just for her rehearsal stack to make sure she doesn't die and make sure she has like her passive up if you were going to kill her. That's it. That's really why she only uses her Q. Camillo, letting Camillo use his ultimate more wisely. Basic attack power going from 29 to 31. I think Camillo's really weak right now, actually, so that makes sense. Duende, his ultimate is going from unstoppable to immune to ground control. Again, I don't know exactly what interactions this changes off the top of my head. You can feel free to let me know in the comments. Immune to ground control doesn't apply to Camilla when not moving it. It's just the same thing as it currently is. Okay. Carla, salvage, her W damage is going from 40 to 160 to 50 to 190. Plus 55% attack power, so this is actually not not that bad of a buff. And the cooldown is going from 3 seconds to 2 seconds. And this can't be affected by CDR from my understanding, so the changes aren't that bad, but I don't think it'll be enough to bring Carla back up to where she was before. Felix, Windscar, and his Q, basic attack or basic damage going from 20 to 100 to 20 to 100. Okay, so it's the same base, but it's going up by 10% attack power. The third hit, the same base stats, but the attack power is also going up by 10%. Felix has also got heavily nerfed right before preseason. Preseason 6, and then with removal of EBAD, it kind of made him fall off too, so he's also on the weaker end right now. Priya, Echoes of the Earth, we know how Priya is. Everyone knows how Priya is. Defense increased by 50 while Priya dances, going to damage reduction by 25% increase. This is gonna really depend on like the stage of the game you're at, because 50 defense is a lot, but 25% damage reduction is also a lot, but again, it depends on the stage of the game. Heart, a boost to Heart's attack speed. Attack speed is going from 0.09 to 0.11. The answer is really why. Heart is, I think, really good in like top tier, or like top tier. There's Heart in good hands, like people who OTP Heart, and just like not that good for like new players. I don't think Heart needed a buff at all. I think she was fine as well as is. This pretty minor overall, but I just don't think she really needed a buff. Hyunwoo. So Hyunwoo is the character that was hit hardest this patch. This makes sense because Hyunwoo and KR has been kind of dominating there for a little bit. So he's getting hit everywhere. So dogfight damage going from 10 to 50 to 20 to 60. I mean, hit everywhere. He's mainly hit with his ultimate because Tonfa Hyunwoo is the main way they play him in KR. They don't really play Glove. So they're trying to buff Glove and nerf Tonfa, which they probably, that's fair. I was saying they probably could just nerf Tonfa and Glove would be okay. But again, since all the Glove characters are trying to play the same, they'll just switch to whatever Glove characters they name as top tier. So all the Glove Hyunwoo players are probably playing Yon right now. So Bluff W, duration of immunity to movement impairing effects is going from 1 second to 0.75. This is actually a good overall Hyunwoo nerf because it just means you have to be more precise when you use your W. And you have Haymaker, which is his ultimate. It's going down to damage a lot. At level 3, you're actually losing almost 300 damage. You're losing 240 damage at max charge up. So the base stats are going way, way down. This is because you generally stack percentage amp on top of Hyunwoo, so you're not really caring about this attack power scaling. But yeah, that's a quite heavy nerf for Tonfa Hyunwoo. I mean, and I think that's honestly completely fair too. I think Tonfa Hyunwoo was actually too strong, but I don't think he was the only strong character this patch, by the way. I think there's a lot more characters that should have been nerfed or been nerfed harder than Hyunwoo, and that weren't even touched or even got a buff. So yeah. Now we're gonna go on weapons. Glove, Divine Fist is going from 49 to 51. Buddhist Palm, cooldown is going from 15% to 10%. This is a big Nikki nerf overall. Nikki's really the only one running Buddha Palm right now, from my understanding. Maybe Yon was, but I think it was definitely not the most popular option. Regular Phoenix is going from 52 to 54, and Imperial Silk Gloves attack bar is going from 79 to 81. So yeah, they buffed the attack power on some of the weapons by 2 for Glove. But yeah, and they nerfed Buddhist Palm for Nikki mainly. Dagger, lowering stability based on high movement speed of test subjects that use daggers. So yeah, there's, again, they already mentioned that they wanted to nerf mobility, and I think that's a good path to go. But I think that's not the only thing they should do. I think there's other things that they should be doing. But this is just the start. I don't know why they only hit daggers. I think they should have hit pistols too. They didn't hit pistol movement speed a little bit ago, but I think they should hit it again. I don't think pistol movement speed should be the same as dagger movement speed if we want to talk about like mobility options. And honestly, I think, yeah, they're about the same right now. Dagger and pistol are the same, and I don't think that should be the case. I think pistol should be slower than dagger for like weapon options because, yeah, melees and range shouldn't be the same speed in this game. But yeah, just the army knife, green knife, the blue knife, they're losing a bunch of MS. So the main weapons are Carwinen losing 0.02, Mount Slicer losing 0.04. This is mainly because of Dagger Jackie. Like more of like the Bleeder Dagger Jackie because it's just the rat build. Vibroblade, this will affect Shukai as well, even though they just buff Shukai, this is going to nerf him again. Vibroblade is going down by 0.04. This was actually hurt a lot of the cast, because a lot of the cast right now is running Vibroblade. That's your Kathy, your Jackie. So yeah, like your non-rat Jackie will run Vibroblade. And Fragarash is also losing 0.02 movement speed. Fragarash is also one of those weapons that's really good right now, so it's kind of getting a slap in the wrist. So all axes excluding Hatchet, the Hatchet is just a white weapon, are losing 5 AP. Throw, Smoke Bomb, recharge time going from 5 seconds to 3 seconds, so it's a little bit more viable to use. I think that's fair. Chest, EOD suit, no one was surprised by this nerf. Is going from 33 to 30 defense. I don't think this nerf will be enough, but I guess it's a start. Chinese Acrobat is getting a 3 AP buff for some reason. Virtuous Outlaw is getting a basic attack range increase from 0.5 to 1. No one's really building this. The main problem is it's a headpiece without defense, and defense is very important just in general. It helps you live longer, and it doesn't. Well, I mean, also not just defense, it also doesn't have really HP. So, but it's also only good on certain characters because it only works with the. It only works with like certain characters. Like it worked with Lead Island and Heart, characters that have like 2 mobility spells kind of like back to back. Like those ones have 3, but you can use it on Rosie as well. But the thing is, they also changed it to this being a unique passive, so if you can't stack like Mithril Quiver and Virtuous Outlaw, I think, anymore. That's my understanding. So that's actually a quite overall it's a nerf to it, and I think that it'll even be seen less play based off the unique passive on it. Tyndallus Band. No one builds Tyndallus Scan. Again, it falls from the same problem as Smooth Walker or Virtuous Outlaw. Is that it has no defensive stats on it, so even if you increase the damage from like 14% to 16, unless the damage is kind of observed or like the CDR is kind of observed, no one's gonna build it. Cube Watch is getting an item icon rework. I can't say it. It's also getting a unique passive, Electric Shock. Grants a stack of Electric Shock every 5 seconds per basic attack. Every 5 seconds. How long are you gonna be in a fight for? Most people die in less than 5 seconds. I don't understand. Basic attacks with max stacks or towards a shielded enemy deal additional cellular damage and remove all your electric shock stacks. Okay, sure. So melee damage is 4% of max HP plus 30 to 78, which is proportional to character level, and range damage is 3% plus HP plus 30 to 78 character level. No cooldown reduction anymore, and the attack speed is going down by 15%. So stack of electric shock every 5 seconds per basic attack. So this is what you have to take 15 seconds in order to get max stacks. It sounds like it's really bad, by the way. This that's 15 seconds for max stacks. This is horrible. And they also nerfed the CDR, or removed it, and they also nerfed the attack speed. It's really bad. Legs, tap roots is going from 0.4 to 0.42. Glacial shoes movement speed is going from 0.35 to 0.37. Iron meters, iron repent is going from 10 to 12%. These are all generally unused except for glacial shoes. No one really uses iron maidens or tap roots because there's better items with VF and meteorite. Glacial shoes, this is probably like your best in slot. If you're an amp character, your glacial shoes are probably your best in slot for damage. Or they are your best in slot for damage. For defense, you will do Boots of Hermes instead. Yeah. Jolly Rogers is actually getting a quite big nerf, and this is mainly the unique. It's adding a unique passive to the movement speed on Jolly Rogers. So, my understanding, this is that you can't stack Butler speed movement speed with Jolly Roger like you used to be able to, or like Virtuous Outlaw with Jolly Rogers. So yeah, Jolly Rogers is getting a pretty noticeable nerf, and I think it did need a nerf, but I'm surprised that's the kind of direction they went with. And yeah, these are the mode balancing changes. I don't have really anything to point out. I just won't. But I guess I have 2 things. One, Nadine getting another nerf duos is kind of funny to me. What a surprise. Said no one. And then the other thing for me is just Lennox getting a buff because Lennox is so bad in team modes. But everything else, Rio's actually getting a buff in duos, ironically. But everything else kind of makes sense. Maybe not Echion. Echion definitely didn't need a buff. They just buff them because I guess no one's playing them. Okay, so Cobalt Protocol, there's a new system, the Mystery Supply. Mystery Supply boxes now appear in Biosector 75 seconds after Phase 1 begins. Choose wisely whether to capture power beacons or attain Mystery Supply boxes. It's up to you. Items obtained from the first Mystery Supply box. Methyl Crop Alii or Phantom Jacket, so you get Mice exclusives. And 2 new items they'll be adding, which I'll go over once we get down there. Is this Combat Epinephrine and Tactical Visor Visitor. Capturing power beacons in phase 1 now gives you less points. You only get 1 point to the 2, so they're trying to say that, look, it's more worth it if you go for the box than if you go for the power beacon, so I guess sure. It also gives you time to like catch up if you're being snowballed a lot by the other team. Now mutant bears will also be refreshing day 1, so you can buy the mutant bear for the shield immediately on spawn. The defense of it is going up by 10, which I guess is fair enough. You generally probably want 2 people to deal with that, so phase 2 is also now shorter, it's going down by 30 seconds. Start phase 3, a mystery supply box will appear in the control room if your team is losing by more than 8 points. Items table here can be totally game changing. The bigger the score gap, the higher the probability you'll get good item. Items obtained from the mystery things are the combat epinephrine, tactical visor, and inquisitor. You can see now the new items: tactical visor. It's a head armor. It's 18 AP, 18 defense, 12 CDR, 1 range, and a unique passive that increases your attack range by 1 meter. This won't be good on your amp characters, really. Like, only the defense and CDR will be. Maybe the attack power, you have a good AP scaling, but this is really for your ranged auto attackers, in my opinion. I think this would be really good on Hedgen as an example. Probably really good on Heart 2 as another example. This is from the Mystery Supply Box from Phase 1 and 3. We have new combat epinephrine. This is a beverage, so you get SP per minute over 18 seconds. But you also get a state of plasma boost over 120 seconds upon use. So even though the recovery is only 18 seconds, you get the whole boost effect for 2 minutes. This boost gives you 0.3 movement speed. It makes you take 8% more damage, I guess. So you are getting some punishment for using it. But you also get 25% Omni Siphon. So again, Omni Siphon is good if you have a single target spell, but since most spells are AoE, and they also nerfed like the healing on animals, I guess. This is only in Cobalt, so you shouldn't be farming animals in the first place. It's only going to be really good on those melee auto attackers, just because the Omni Siphon, and it could be good at run range auto attackers too, but you have your damage increased done. I guess if you're a ranged character, you can keep your range and not deal this damage to take an increase. But yeah, you also get 2 of them, by the way, from one of them. And this new item, Inquisitor, this actually looks really cool. It's a new mythic item. Mythic members only like 1 per team. That's how it works. Chest armor, stats 20 AP, 20 defense, 12 Omni, and it has a unique passive known as Reaper's Scythe. So dealing damage to a test subject with 11% for melee or 8.5% for range, or less HP remaining will kill them instantly. A 30-second cooldown. This item seems really cool, but it could be a bit overpowered. The cooldown on it is quite long for Cobalt Protocol, so maybe not nearly as overpowered, but ideally you just want to let the person who has this chest piece get the last shot in. So you probably, once again, will want it on like a more ranged character, or maybe on like a whip character, or someone like Adela. Like, who is a ranged character but is treated as a melee. So the HUD log functions. A new HUD will be added to the right of the game screen that shows score activities such as slaying enemies, killing androids, and capturing power beacons. Sure, I wish they showed what it looked like. Deploying loop debuff. I can't say. Debuffs deploying loops now differ from that of Lumia Island. Used in duration so it doesn't bother play temple. So deploying a loop royale debuff and invincible duration is going to 1.5 seconds. Okay, that's fair enough. And the shredder model is changing, so it looks like it's gonna move a little bit closer. Maybe it's actually in the exact same spot, but it just looks different. Okay, sure. New infusion and mobilizing presence. So when you revive, all other types of tricks and summons are put into stasis for 2.5 seconds. I guess this is like the rise from the ashes, but you put people in the stasis instead. That's the only way I can think it works, but okay, sure. And fusions, Thorn Shackles is getting buffed. I like Thorn Shackles, but yeah, the cooldown was a little bit long for it. Martyr damage is going up from 25 to 70% of lost HP. It's cellular to 30 to 100. That's a pretty big increase. Lower probability of earning this infusion, so okay, I guess they're just gonna lower the rate for it though. Striking force upon passing the accelerator influx perimeter. Deal damage to enemy hit by basic attack within 8 seconds is now within 12 seconds. This is a buff, and the damage dealt will go from 30 to 100 to 35 to 130. Another buff. Smelter, this is Wick Line buff is getting buffed for some reason. I think this augment definitely didn't need to be buffed, but very well. Overcharge, the power beacon effects is being buffed from 40 to 80 to 40 to 100. Again, another thing I kind of do agree with is it was on the weaker end. Uh, Noxious Aftermath, a much higher probability of earning this fusion. Team quantity is going to 1, which is new, so I guess only one member of a team can have the Wick Trail. I think Wick Trail is 100% weaker than the Wick Buff. I think Wick Buff is 100% more what you want than Wick Trail. Double Trouble attack power reduction is going from 15 to 0 to 15 to 4, so it is getting nerfed. This one, if you were playing Longbow Rio with like Archaeotoxis and just like all the good items, all the crit items, you have this Double Trouble one, you would literally take like half your health from just one auto. So yeah, very fun. Sadistic Nature, cooldown is going down by 2. I forgot that one does. Fissure sends a shockwave to enemies in range behind the target of basic attack. Sends a shockwave to enemies in range, including the target of basic attack. So this time it's actually gonna include the person you're hitting with the target. So this will do 15 to 10 damage to 9 to 6.5. So more of a rework than a buff. So instead of only hitting the person behind, you hit both people, so it does less damage. These are the Cobalt changes. Not too much to really point down. Dylan is getting nerfed. Tia is getting buffed. So Cicella is getting nerfed. This is because of crit Cicella. Sylvia is also getting nerfed because of just like I don't know. She's doing actually better than I guess they expected her to do. Belle is actually being buffed. Interestingly enough, William's also William's just being nerfed. Jackie, so axe damage dealt is going up. The main problem with axe Jackie is you really need attack speed. But in this mode, when you're randomly rolling for items, you don't guarantee the attack speed. So I understand why they're buffing her. Two-handed sword damage dealt is going from 100 to 98. Still nerfed a little bit. And the dual sword damage dealt is going from 96 to 100%. So it is going up by 4% as well. Carla is damage dealt is going from 100 to 102%. Carla's just really bad right now. Chloe is going from 97 to 100%. I don't know why they buff Chloe. I think Chloe's in a great spot right now. Same with Heart. Heart and Chloe, that's reasons for me. They are, I think, both really good. I think Heart's better than Chloe, but I think a good Chloe player can help change your fight. Gameplay improvements, I will just kind of look over to see if there's anything important for me to point out. Actually, one thing, they said they fixed the postpone bug. Hopefully this is actually the case. Characters can outrun collision when in stealth. This is actually very interesting. This relates to like dagger skill and air ISO, or not air ISO, just ISO in general. So this would be very interesting to see. Reviving with a weapon unequipped no longer creates a common weapon. That's kind of funny. Now I can see how this is abused, by the way. Like, is there's some of the common weapons are used to craft other materials, so I can see why people would do that if they don't want to spend the resources to upgrade that material. Here, waiting for a revival using the Rise of Ashes and Fusion no longer allows you to access the synthesizer. That's actually interesting. Now drop swords of justice. I guess you couldn't drop it before. That's a little bit funny too. And we have some character improvements here. Nothing also really stood out to me here. There's still a Linux bug going around, but it's not. They've said it's not a priority already, so I'm just waiting for the day they actually do fix it. And the bug's mainly just the bleed effect on Linux doesn't work for characters who teleport. It did in season 2, but it hasn't fixed since. It's not worked since then. I thought it was like intended, but I've been told it's actually a bug. So very well, I guess it is what it is. So yeah, that's kind of it for this patch. I really like the game changes, like just like the things they've added to the game with the save plans. Augment changes are really great. Now all level character or all account levels can get all augments. I think that's a really good change that people have been asking for a while. My biggest thing is the balance is just so bad this patch. It's the worst I feel like it has been in a long time. I really wish they addressed some of the balance issues. I've been waiting and waiting for balance to be changed for the season, but no, we're just gonna be stuck with pretty much the same top tiers as we did last season, or they were either top tiers last season, like for like briefly, or the whole season. So, and with like some exceptions, like Lennox was top tier last season, but not really this season. Yeah, let me know what your thoughts are on the patch. Again, my email will be available in game starting after maintenance tomorrow. You can get it by watching my stream on twitch.tv/TheNamesNiko with an L, not an I, for 1 hour. So yeah, I hope to see some of you guys at my stream, and yeah, just let me know your thoughts on the patch. I hope to see you at the next video. Bye-bye.